What's up guys, my name is Ace, and the biggest request I've been seeing when it comes to a breakdown of a field upgrade in Black Ops 6 is the Signal Lure. There's a lot of confusion around what exactly this does, what it looks like, how it works, and whether or not it's worth using. I've seen some people claim this is the best field upgrade in the game, whereas others say that it's just purely detrimental, so that's why I wanted to dive into this today. And taking a look at the description, it says, reveal your position to enemies and tap into enemy voice comms, and you earn bonus score for eliminations and survival. So that gives us a bit of an indication of generally what this does, but no real specifics here. So let's first dive into the charge times here, which I have done a whole video on, but when it comes to the Signal Lure, it's actually the fastest charging field upgrade in the game at 78 seconds by default, or 55 seconds if you're using Gearhead. And keep in mind, unlike other Call of Duty games, earning score does not reduce this time. That is just the flat amount of time it takes no matter what. Then from your perspective, if you're using Signal Lure, when you activate it, it starts a 1 minute duration. That's how long it's going to be lasting for. And throughout that 1 minute duration, every kill that you get will give you 25 extra score on top of the score that you were already getting for that kill. Then if you do manage to survive that entire minute, you get an additional 150 score for survival. Now on top of that, for this duration, you can hear the voice comms of enemy players. Well, perhaps that could make for some funny situations or something. I don't really see much utility to this. It's not like people are actually using callouts on a regular basis, if anybody's even talking at all, so I wouldn't even really consider that to be much of a reason to use Signal Lure. It's just something I wanted to point out. And all of that, from the user's perspective, is all pretty basic and straightforward, and not really the part that's causing confusion. I think most of the confusion comes from what this looks like for the enemy player, because it mentions that it reveals you to them, but it doesn't mention exactly how, and for many people, they haven't even run into this in a game, or if they have, they didn't know what it was. So this is what it looks like if an enemy activates a Signal Lure. As you can see on the minimap, there is a very unique indicator that really stands out. However, this indicator is not following the player in real time. It will ping that player's location every 3 seconds, and then it will just stay in that spot for 3 seconds until the next ping. So if you're moving around a lot, this doesn't really follow you that effectively, and you can sort of outrun that Signal Lure. And if you're moving around enough, this may even confuse enemy players to a degree, because they'll be looking for you in one spot, but you could be somewhere totally different in those 3 seconds. And also, if you're firing an unsuppressed gun, sometimes this can make it look like there are multiple enemies there since there are 2 pings, but that's just you. It's your 1 ping for shooting your gun and another ping for the Signal Lure itself. Also, when it comes to being revealed on the minimap, I just wanted to point out with this unique indicator, there's no elevation indicator attached to it. Unlike with a standard red dot, which will give you a little arrow next to it, indicating if that player is above or below you in elevation. But that's how it works on the minimap, fairly straightforward. However, that's just one of the ways that Signal Lure will reveal your position. It's also going to reveal your position through audio, and this does follow you in real time. It does make a very distinct sound that sticks with your character model, and if you have a good headset, you can actually pinpoint the direction of this very easily. And again, this one is in real time, but for this, instead of describing it to you, I'll just let you guys have a listen for yourself. So that is an important element to be aware of when it comes to the Signal Lure. It's not just the minimap that's revealing you, it's also the audio. So especially if you're playing in lobbies with people that pay attention to their minimap on a regular basis and have good headsets, so the higher skilled lobbies, Signal Lure is often just going to be a straight up death sentence for you. In my experience, it's going to be fairly rare that you're going to survive the entire minute with Signal Lure active. And another thing I haven't pointed out yet is if you're using Signal Lure and an enemy kills you, they get a bonus 100 score just for killing you. And remember, you only get 150 score for surviving an entire minute with Signal Lure active, which in my eyes isn't really all that balanced. It's way easier to just kill somebody that's using Signal Lure compared to surviving an entire minute while revealing your position on the minimap and with audio. So that's another thing you have to balance with Signal Lure is you may actually just be feeding the enemy team even more score than they otherwise would have gotten. So when it comes to my thoughts on the Signal Lure, personally, in its current state, I don't think it's worth using. Although at least to a degree, it is going to depend on the types of lobbies that you're in. If you're playing in lobbies where people don't check their minimap very often, they're not using good headsets or headsets at all, you can probably get away with this, and it's nice to get that little bit of bonus score every kill that you get. But outside of that, it's more often just going to be a death sentence that gives one player on the enemy team an extra 100 score that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise for very little reward. In my opinion, the reward doesn't match the risk with this, especially with that survival bonus for surviving an entire minute. And I think ideally, you would either get a much bigger score bonus for surviving that entire minute, since that's not an easy feat by any means, or perhaps there should be multiple checkpoints as you're surviving. So just as an example, maybe every 10 seconds that you're alive with the signal lure, you get 25 score. That would add up to the same amount of total score if you were to survive for that full 60 seconds. But at least in this case, you'd be getting that score consistently over time, and you'd actually be able to take advantage of that bonus score more often than not, because as of right now, more often than not, I would say you're not going to be surviving that full 60 seconds, and therefore you're not getting any of that 150 score. So that change would make the signal lure at least a little bit more attractive. I still think it would be a little bit on the weaker end when we're looking at risk versus reward, but at least I'd be somewhat more inclined to use it. Now, at the end of the day, while I don't think it's worth it in its current state, I actually really like the idea of signal lure. I think it's a really cool idea to put yourself in a much riskier situation for potential reward. It's just, as of right now, that reward isn't balanced versus the risk that you're taking, at least in my opinion. And this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you guys feeling about the current state of signal lure in Black Ops 6? Do you agree that in its current state, it's just not rewarding enough for the amount of risk that you're putting yourself in? Or do you guys think it's balanced just fine as is? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.